Hello dog lovers. This video is basically going to show you how to take a group of dog breeds and basically do some regular expression parsing on it so you can massage the data to make it exactly the way you want it to look. So first of all, let's go ahead and look at the Wikipedia article on dog breeds. So this is the Wikipedia article. I just searched for dog breed in the search window and came up with this list, and it's basically all about dog breeds. And if you actually go to the dog breed list, it'll be a much bigger list than this, and actually more columns here, and this is not as easy to parse with regular expressions, so it would be a much more complex video. But for our case, we're just going to go through these regular expressions on this smaller column set and go from there. So I'm just going to scroll to the very bottom. I selected the top, highlight the bottom. I'm going to grab this entire set and I'm going to place it into the a text file in Visual Studio. And I paste it, and this is basically what it looks like. It's got the name of the I think it's called an FCI name. Let's see, it's called a name, FCI name, and an FCI number. The third column is the English name, and the fourth column is the actual picture. And if I right click that picture and go to properties, basically tells me the JPEG type, the type of file is a JPEG, the type of protocol is a hypertext transfer protocol, the address that it's located on, and since it's hypertext, it starts with HTTP. There's other protocols, and then finally the size. So it's 3,137 for this one, and then the dimensions of the JPEG picture, and then the date it was created, and the date it was modified. So today is today's April the 22nd, and this picture was created on April the 20th. Okay, so basically we're going to go through these and kind of parse the text of it that we got from Wikipedia. And so here's the text. Now I can get rid of all this part myself. I could use regular expressions to get rid of it, so I can show you how to do that. Like anything that starts with this right here, I can basically do a search on it, and this means regular expression in Visual Studio 2012. So if I want to get rid of that, I can use regular expressions to do it, but it says reach the start point of the search, so it couldn't find that. So basically it doesn't know what this is, I believe. So basically you have to say that slash, which is a control character, we have to use the backslash on the forward slash to make it come out. So now we can find it. Now we can do a search and replace. If you hit Control H is the search and replace, Control F is just the search, and then this is the command that actually does the search for it. This does the actual replacement, replace next, and this replaces all occurrences. So since I'm in the current document, it'll only replace occurrences that happen in this document. If you select all open documents or entire solution, it'll select all files that contains that combination and with your replacement text. So if I just put test in my current document, it will replace that with test. So I'll show you how that works if it'll let me. Okay, that just does a search on it. This does a replacement on it. So I just did the replacement, and then there you see the results. Okay, let's go back, and then the carriage return line feed is carriage return line feed in. Okay, so I might want to go down. I might do one line that says dot star carriage return line feed. Then I go to the FCI. I go FCI space NO dot. I do a carriage return line feed. Then I go to the next line, which is pretty much anything. I don't really care. And I could probably just do another carriage return line feed. And then go to the next line, which is E, English, name. If I didn't put those carriage return line feeds, it wouldn't know that my text started on the next line. So then I just do another carriage return line feed. And then I go to the next line, carriage return line feed. Then I do the picture, carriage return line feed. Now you can see that this is kind of a long piece of text, but if that pattern happens on every single one of your documents, like let's say you're using EDI for transferring different types of dog breeds at your veterinary clinic, then you'd want to add that pattern to get rid of it. So once you have that pattern, then maybe you want to also get the next carriage return line feed. So this pattern, you can then get rid of it on every single one of your documents when you actually do your initial file, processing. Okay, so now I'm going to do a replace next. So what it's going to do is search the current document, and I could do all documents, all open documents, current project, or entire solution here. But in this case, I'm just going to use the current document. I'm going to go ahead and hit replace next, and it replaced it, and then it couldn't find any more occurrences of it. Okay, so and I replaced all that with test. Now if I replace it with nothing, let's go back. Let's replace it with nothing. Then instead of replacing it with test, we just replace it with nothing. Okay, so now I'm happy with my document so far, but now I don't like these JPEGs. I want to get rid of every single one of these JPEGs and a carriage return line feed. So carriage return line feed's here, and then I want to get rid of this carriage return line feed too. So anything that ends in JPEG, but let's play around with this JPEG real quick. Let's say I want to replace JPEG with my JPEG. I could do that. So let's say I want JPEG, and maybe the dot JPEG, and maybe I want to select it and then add an A here and an A here. So I'm trying to think, how would I do that on every single one of these so I don't have to spend a long time going through this huge document? It would just take me forever to do that by hand. If I knew how to do it right off the bat, it would save me a lot of time. So I can go A.jpg, A. Would that work? Let's go ahead and try that. Okay, that seemed to work. Okay. That seems to work great. Okay, so let's go back. Okay. So let's say we wanted to put the dot. Let's say we wanted to add an A here now, an A here, A here, and A here. So how would we do that? So I could go dot star dot, then JPEG. Now let's see if my A dot JPEG A works again for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and replace it. No, that did not work. Okay, so I wanted to add like an A right here, like to this. A, and A, like that. So whatever it just did not work the way I expected it to work. So let's try a different combination. And there's one thing that I haven't shown you yet with the search and replace, is if I go and do a find and replace, I have the quick find, which is this box right here. And I have the find in files and replace in files, which is Control-Shift-F and Control-Shift-H. Or if I select it from the edit menu, I get this bigger box. And when I have an expression, a regular expression, and I want to do a complex replace on it, it gives me these, which are substitution helper, and here it gives me the actual different types of expressions and expression help. So if I go to the expression helper and I select, and I select things like in here, if I did it could basically show me what I want to do a search on, and this is a back reference for the captured expression named pet, and then this is a capture expression dog cat and name it pet, and this is a capture an implicit number, the expression dog cat. So I didn't really name it, I just referenced it. And this is a back reference, the first captured sub-expression. So when we use these expressions, it just basically says what we want to do. So we kind of want to do something like this, where we have dot star, then we have the next expression, which is a dot, just a period, which we put in brackets, and then the last expression, which is called JPEG. Okay, so now when we try and do a search on that, so it basically is looking for these combinations. So wherever my cursor starts, so my cursor started like right here, and when I try to hit that, right here, when I try to do the find, it only search that. But if I started at the very top here, did a find, it would find that combination. So obviously this also matches that combination, and this matches that combination. So it'll keep going until it hits the end. Now if I hit find previous, if I did a search up on this, it would go the opposite direction. But I don't see previous right now. Usually when you do replacement files, it'll only search in one direction. When I do a find, it'll search up, and since it goes this direction, left or right to left, this doesn't match the combination anymore, and it automatically goes to the next line. So that's why that'll work. But if I'm using replacement files, it'll do that because it doesn't have a previous or a search up command. So I'm forced to go to search down. So when you do your replace, you obviously want to replace it on your first try, so it doesn't go here and then try and do the replacement. So then once I have it set up like this, then I want to use my substitute string, and this says substitute the substring matched by the capture group number. Now if I had a less than a name and a right bracket, it would basically put it allow me to select the sections by name, and I can show you how to do that next. So now I want to replace every occurrence of this by a here, and a here. So to do that, I need to use my little substitution thing, and I want to say a, and I want to do it again, and there's 3 of these, one in parentheses, 1, 2, 3. So this technically should work as long as I put my little a right there, and it should know how to do the replacement now. So now when I go here and I do replace, and in my find, I'm in find next, and I do my replace. Okay, so that's not really what I wanted to do. Do you see what I did? It actually added this each time because I didn't change this number. So 1, then 2, then 3, like that. So let's go back, Control Z will take you back. Then you hit replace, and now it puts them in the correct order. So now I can replace all. So I go Control Z, and I know I'm in my current document, and replace all. It'll replace every single combination of these with A. And notice it didn't do this one right here because it starts with, it has JPEG with an E in the name. So all I have to do that is I could do JPEG or JPEG like that. I think that would work. So let's try that, and take Control Z, place all again. And where's the JPEG? Now even the JPEG's done now. Okay, so A. So with substitution matches, you can leave out parts of them. Like maybe I don't want the period to be in there. I can get rid of that period now if I wanted to. And maybe I can get rid of one of these A's. And when I do the Control replace, you notice that the replacement text is there. Okay, so now I showed you how to do it with numbers. Now let's do it with actual names. Names are a little more complicated because I might say, you can name anything pretty much. I might call it name 1. I might call this one name 2 to make it simple. And I might say file type. File type the name for this search pattern. So this is a search pattern, this dots is in brackets is a search pattern, and then dot means anything, any character by itself without the brackets. Brackets means it's just a period. Without the brackets, it means that this period means I am any character. I can be any character. The star means it's 0 or more combinations. So basically 0 to infinity. So it could have something or it doesn't have to have anything. So you could just have .jpeg there, and that would match that pattern. So name 1, and I can't spell name 1 here, is the first pattern that matches any character or anything. But you notice this pattern has to have a dot in it. This pattern has to have a JPEG or a JPEG with an E at the end of it. So now when I do my search and replace, the 1 is no longer going to work. And this is why I want to use this $sign PET here instead, because it's actually the name. So I might, instead of name 1, instead of $1, I'd say $name 1, and then I'd say a $name 2, and then instead of 3, I'd say $file type, like so. A. Now that should work for this. Now when I do the replace, oop, I put it in the wrong section. No, I didn't. That's correct. So why doesn't it like that? So when I selected pet, oh, I forgot the question mark. It has to be in this format: question mark, name, and then my pattern. And that all has to be in parentheses. Okay, so that's the only thing I forgot was the question mark. So you can use your expression helper to see all these combinations that allow you to do search and replacements. And this section right here is in parentheses is pretty much matching matching a pattern based on different combinations. There's also something called a back reference that captures the sub-expression named pet. So depending on how you want to do this, it can do some pretty crazy capture and replace. Okay, so I forgot the question marks on each of these, so let's go ahead and add those to the remaining 2. And now we'll try it again and make sure that we can do the search and replace by either numbers, which mean they have no name. This part would be missing here from the parentheses. This name part would be missing. Would just be the parentheses, and then we'd number it by using a number. Also, if we want to use a name, we actually have to put the name in there. And now it should work, and it doesn't like it again for some reason. I did say the current document, and I'm using regular expressions. So what does it not like? Error results. Name1 dot star. Okay, let's look at this again. I might have forgot something. Okay, pet. Okay, let's try and get rid of the number. Maybe it doesn't like the number. Let's call it name, namey, and file type. So name me, and file type. I think that's the way it likes it. See? $sign, and oh, I think I forgot the $sign. No, I have the $sign. Okay, let's try and replace. Find next. Okay. Okay, let me pause it and try and figure it out. Okay, I believe I found my problem. When I selected this expression, you notice this right here. Notice that the question mark comes after the bracketed part, the named part. So I didn't do that everywhere. I did it here, but I didn't do it here. So I have to do question mark, then the name, then I have to end it, and then I have to take the question mark out here, put the question mark here, and then name it. And that technically should work. So let's try it again in our document. Let's just try and do find next. Okay, it found it. Okay, so it seems to be working. So now let's go ahead and do our replacement. And do a replacement in files and make sure it's named correctly. The question mark comes before the name part. Question mark comes before the name part, and the question comes before the name. I don't think it matters what you name these either. So name, name2, and file type. Name1, name2, file type. Let's try and do that now. Let's do replace, 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 replace. Okay, so now I showed you basically how to do it with and without the names and then just the numbered section parts. If you don't name it, with names, if you take this part out right here, or take this part out, you have to use the number part. So then instead of this grouping by name, you just have to add 1, 2, 3, however many of these sub expressions you have in parentheses. Okay, so basically that's how that works. So let's go ahead and replace all. In the current document, there were 381 occurrences. That obviously would have taken a long time to do by hand. So we can now do it 2 different ways. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to show you is just how to get rid of this JPEG completely. So if we want to get rid of the JPEG completely, we can just do these name parts, get rid of them, and just get the actual pattern part that we're interested in. And JPEG or JPEG. And try that. And let's go find next. Find next. Find next. Okay, find next. Okay, so it didn't like that, so I have to get rid of this parenthesis here, put the parenthesis at the very end. Okay, let's go find next. Okay, So looks like I have to figure out how to add that in there like so. That should work. Okay, now let's go to find next. Find next. Okay, that worked. Find next. Okay, like that. Find next. Okay, so now when we do our search and replace, it'll search the patterns. A dot means an actual period if it's in brackets. A dot means any character if it's not in brackets. So now we can go through and search and replace all the JPEGs. And remember, we want to get rid of this carriage return, line feed, carriage return, line feed. In C sharp, in a string in C sharp or C++ or VB, the /n basically means a carriage return line feed all by itself. But in regular expressions, it doesn't. /r means carriage, the carriage, that means line feed. I'm sorry, this means a carriage return, this means a line feed. Or this means a carriage return and this means a line feed. I can't remember which one it is, but it requires two of them in order to do the full thing. I think in the previous version of Visual Studio 2010, you could have gotten away with just /n and it would have worked, but not in this version. This one uses the full power of regular expressions in their find and replace, which makes it a lot cooler, but a lot more difficult to learn it from scratch if you're a beginner. So that's why I'm basically trying to help you with the animal route, especially with dogs. Dog lovers will love this. I could do one with cats if you're really interested. I'm sure it'll be about the same pain level. Okay, so now that that's done, we can now get rid of each of these that have a JPEG or JPEG with JPEG. And when we do our search and replace, let's test it, make sure it works. Oh, and we don't want to replace it with itself. So replace, boom, boom, boom. Okay, what just happened? Place. Okay, this one's Afghan Hound. File type, okay. Yeah, so I didn't want to do this. I actually wanted to replace it with nothing. Okay, so I'm replacing all of this with nothing. So let's go ahead and do that. And so I guess I could say, no, if I use the name, it'll actually put this whole thing back. So if I do a replace, it's going to get rid of the JPEG and the line feed and the carriage return line feeds. So that's kind of what I want. If I did put in that name one in there, I'll show you my substitution for pet. Instead of pet, I want name one. And I just want to explain something. When I'm doing this search, the expression builder, it's basically trying to help me for some reason. It adds these contexts of what maybe I'm currently working on in my program. And if I could show you my my program, it's basically a link examples. And I've got a dog in here and a pet and a cat. These are animal types. And there's an animal in here, and in my actual program, if I can show you that, in my program I've got this main that then calls a test, and in my test I'm creating some pets from a pet in animals. So Visual Studio 2012 appears to be smart enough so that when I do my regular expressions, I look at this expression builder, it knows, hey, that I'm working with pets and dogs and cats and stuff like that, so that if I want to name this stuff, pick something relative to what I'm currently working on. Wow, can you believe that? That's crazy. They actually integrated your classes in your program with the expression builder. That's pretty neat, if you ask me. Anyway, let's get back to parsing this. So, anyway, what I was going to say is if I added an expression builder in my find and replace, whoops, hit the wrong one, and I wanted to do pet here instead of nothing, I can't do that because what it's going, I'm sorry, name one. I'm just using that as it's trying to help me, and I'm getting confused a little bit. But anyway, if I do that, it's just going to replace it with itself and then get rid of the carriage return line feed, because everything that was named was up to that parentheses, and the carriage return line feeds were extra. If I put those in their own parentheses, then I could just get rid of the carriage return line feeds. I could add those names too. Like if I say, whoops, carriage return line feed, carriage return line feed. Okay, so if I did that and I named that something, just put it in parentheses, then I can use a name and then a number. Maybe, I don't know if that's 2 or 1. Let's try 2. And let's try 1 first. So if I do find next, replace it. Okay, so it didn't think it was number 1. Replace it. Notice it added the same thing again. Okay, so let's put a whole bunch of spaces right here, a whole bunch of spaces right here. Our character line feeds here, and let's try and do that replace again. Replace, control. Okay, so you see what happened? Replace, and just added everything and a JPEG to it. Okay, so basically, I'm basically trying to see what it's doing here, and when I hit find next, replace, it's adding JPEG to the end of it. I'm trying to figure out why is it adding JPEG to the only JPEG to the end of it, and not the .star part. I think it's because this part right here is the first /1, and this part is the /2. The name encompasses everything. So this is actually a subset of the name part. So instead of doing a replacement of the name and then just the first one, if I did $2, I would see both of them. Then when I did find replace, and that didn't work. Oh, it did add the carriage return line feed. So that's the second part. So let's do it again. Find next. Okay, so it found it. Okay, so then I'm just going to add the whole thing back. Replace. So all it did was it didn't change the carriage return line feed. There's a carriage return line feed here and a carriage return line feed here. Since that didn't change with the second section, it didn't matter. So if I got rid of this one now, and it should be exactly identical now. Find next, replace is exactly the same. So obviously, if I could add an extra line feed and just not the name. If I did $2 maybe. So go find next, replace. Notice it added a bunch of carriage return line feeds. So it actually added 1, 2, 3, 4. It actually, so there's already one carriage return line feed here, one carriage return line feed here. So what it did is just added one more carriage return line feed. So it actually added this 2 more times. So 4 more of these. So there's 2, 4, 6. So this already had the 2 carriage turn line feed here. Then I just added 1, 2, 3, 4. So I added 4 more. So this would have actually looked, you know, it would have looked like this. And this is on line 44. So let's see if that actually worked. Let's go find next place. This is on line 44. So that's what it did, is added 4 more carriage return line feeds. Okay, so now the final step that we wanted to do originally is just get rid of the carriage return or the JPEGs completely, which is what I think we were originally doing, and just replace it with nothing. So obviously we need to have that extra space between all of these, and then when we do our carriage return line feeds, it should look something like that. And let's just go ahead and control. Okay, so just keep going. Control Z. Okay, replace all. Blammo. 380 occurrences, and for some reason I had extra space here. There's a couple extra spaces throughout. I guess some of them didn't have a JPEG maybe, or there were 2 extra spaces, but we can also do that. We can look for any occurrence of just a carriage return line feed all by itself, and that would just be a carriage return line feed, and it has to have a starting character. So we can just do a find next on that, and let's go ahead and replace all. There were 16 occurrences in the entire file. Okay, and there doesn't appear to be any extra spaces in our current information. I noticed there's some of these here with a PNJ. PNJ, and there didn't get rid of this last .jpeg. Probably because it didn't end in a carriage return line feed at the end. So if I go to my previous one, I need to find this part right here. Carriage return line feed, get rid of it, and do a find next, and replace it with nothing. Okay, so the very last one didn't meet that condition, a carriage return line feed, and then another carriage return line feed. Okay, so now we found all of our JPEGs, we removed them, so now we basically end up with this file, which has been pretty much fixed. So now I want to get rid of everything that has a number in it, and anything and the number, and then leave what's left and get rid of the space. Okay, so how would I do that? Let's go ahead and give this one the FCI name. FCI name, then that's pretty much, let's just say it's anything is the FCI name. Then we'll give one that has the FCI number, and that would be a number dot star. Actually, it has to be a number /d star. Then it has to have a, let's say it has to have a space, and we're not even going to name that. And the space will be a /s, a white space. And then the final part will be, you know, dot anything dot star, and we'll give it the name as the English name. And of course, I'm forgetting about the question mark. It's called ing name, or just call it just ing name like that, and that'd be dot star, and then we'll just have the carriage turn and line feed. Then we'll try and find that, and so it found it. For some reason, it got that space in there. So we'll say it has to have a start of line in it. Find next. Okay. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Let's say it has to end. Find next. Let's go back to the top here. maybe I have to put the end right here. Find next. Didn't like that. Find next. I did say /d /s. Find next. Okay, the /s, if we go here, we can see what a /s means in our regular expression help. And basically, /s I thought it meant a white space, but I guess not. It must mean something more than just a white space. If we go to Wikipedia, I might be able to find it. Regular expressions, and do this search for /s, and it says white space characters, which is the /t means a tab. So if I go to T, it's a tab. Okay, /r is that carriage return line feed. So it has to be all of those. So we don't really want that. I just want the spaces. And these are non-white space characters, non-word characters, space or tab. So colon, blank, colon. I think that's what I want. That's in POSIX. ASCII. So it looks like it's just space /t is what I want, or just space. Okay, so I think that's what I want. So if I go back here, that's why this worked. It was just a space. I could have added a space /t here, and it would have found that as well. Let's find next. Okay, now what I want to do is when I do my replacement, I don't want to add this. I don't want to add this. I don't care about this. I just want my English name. So if I remember how to do that, I just add in my English name here and replace my pet with ing name, and I hit my replacement, and for some reason it kept the first and last but not the. Let's look at that again. Let's go to the very top here. Let's add some spaces here. Let's look at just the first one. Find next. Let's hit replace. And just replace the whole thing. Replace. Find next. Replace. Place. Just deleting it. Okay, so that's not working, and I am in regular expressions. I do have this named as English name. Make sure, grab that, put that in there like that. Find next, replace, and just deleted it. Let me look at it again. .start. So I ended in /d. So let's look at /d. Make sure I'm using the right command. Match any decimal digit. So let's look at that again. And I said any decimal digit any number of times. So that was the FCI number. So it didn't like that. So let me just use these numbers. /3 3 would be the one I'm thinking of. Replace, that did not work either. Okay, let me pause and try and figure it out. Okay, it looks like I found the problem. It's basically this, because I have extra spaces at the end here, this slash T matched that combination only for here. So I actually need to add another space at the end here, so space slash T. So I want to make sure ing name, the spaces are not included in the FCI name, the FCI number. So now if I do just the FCI name, it should, and I got rid of the number from the FCI name. So now if I do just that one, and I do find next, replace, it'll just do just the FCI name now. And then if I do just the FCI number, so those spaces are critical in your find and replace. So let's go back to the top and let's do a search again, and now it's just the number, the FCI number. Notice there are no spaces at the end or anything like that. It's just the number. And then let's just do the last one as a final example. It's the English name. Let's make sure that we capture that logic. Find next, replace. So now it's just the English names left. So now that I'm happy that all that's done, now we're going to go and try it on the entire document. And I think I accidentally added a dollar sign right there. Okay, so let's try that again. Find next. Let's hit replace. Just the English name. Okay. Okay, so let's go replace all. Okay, now there's something wrong here. It just scrunched everything together. So we don't want that. We want a carriage turn line feed at the very end. So we can just add it, carriage turn line feed, so that now it'll keep the carriage turn line feed at the very end. So let's go ahead and push that one back together, and then let's go ahead and do a find replace all. So now it should have gone through, as long as it matched that space, number space, then the English name space, carriage turn line feed. As long as it matched that combination, which is exactly what we have here. And notice the slash D is a number, just a single digit, 0 through 9, and then any number of numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, whatever the FCI number was for these unique breeds, dog breeds. And I guess there are some spaces in here, so we can, let's see, I'm not sure. That looks like it's just a carriage turn line feed. So we can probably go through and find any carriage turn line feeds now and just replace it with nothing. So, oops, I didn't want to do that. I just hit Control Z to undo that. So let's go ahead and try to find those spaces again. So I wanted to search for just carriage turn line feeds and replace with nothing. Find next. And oh, there's one other thing I didn't mention. It needs to start with the line. It needs to start. Then there needs to be a carriage turn line feed, because all of these obviously have carriage turn line feeds in order for it to go to the next line. So we need to say it's the beginning of the line, which is what that caret means. And then it's then it has a carriage turn line feed. Okay, so let's do a search on that. Okay, it did not find that. So I'm saying the current document, find next. Okay, so now it found it. So I think I had I think it was in selection mode instead of in current document mode. So I was just looking at that selection, find next, replace, 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 replace. Sometimes it's better just to hit replace once at a time. If you hit replace all and you're in your entire solution and you got a million files that everyone depends on, you might want to think twice about replace all when you're in find and replace in files. because it can be very disconcerting if you lose all your work because you did a find and replace on something you didn't want to in Visual Studio. It's very powerful, but very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. Okay, so anyway, so that's pretty much it with regular expressions. And now we basically, whoops, I said entire solution. Current document. So you can see how dangerous that can be. So anyway, find next. And it can't find any more carriage turn line feeds, and there doesn't appear to be any spaces or anything, because I could also look for spaces or tabs by doing space /T and seeing, and then maybe any number of spaces or tabs, and then find next. And I can't find any of those, so I'm good to go. It looks like I now have a lot of documents, and I can see how many line numbers I have too if I go into my option settings and add line numbers. Let's see if I can do that really quickly. In my text editor, I believe is where it's going to be located. Basically, you want to know how to add line numbers to your document. If you don't know how many line numbers you have, it can make things difficult for you. And I'm in C#. Oh, there, I just saw it. Line numbers. You can also show visual glyphs for word wraps, and I like the glyphs. Okay. And I don't see any line numbers. I'm not in a C# though. There's line numbers. Oh, so I need to go Tools, Options, and I'm not in C#, I'm just in General, All Languages, Display Line Numbers, okay. And now I'm in, this is not a language, but now it does show the line numbers. So it said all languages. I guess we could have a new language called dog language. And I would be totally for that because I totally love dogs. They are awesome. Okay, and I can get rid of this. And I think it remembers that I created that before. Nope, it only goes so far. Oh yeah, it does. Here, the FCI, the name. Oh no, I got rid of that. So I have to do that over again if I want to get rid of that. So now it doesn't have the extra carriage turn line feed. So I just do the name. The name. I'm in regular expressions. Find next. Okay, name slash. And if I do this little one, the little helper one, I can actually see it as I type it and make sure I'm on the right page. Carriage return, line feed. Notice it goes to the next line, then I go FCI, no dot, carriage turn, line feed, and then I go English, name, I have carriage turn, line feed, and picture, and then I do carriage turn, line feed. Okay, so now that I have all that, these are my 4 fields, and notice my picture field is totally gone, so I'm pretty good to go. And obviously, you could have seen how I could converted this to a CSV file or CVS file or whatever you call it. So it's comma delimited, or it's pipe delimited, or caret delimited, even if you really wanted carets to your file. So you can maybe create a an EDI file, or create a special FTP text file, or maybe an HL7 or one of these other formats, so you can meet your obligations for your contract or for your programming gig. And you can also sort your dogs however you want them, using regular expressions, and that's why regular expressions are so powerful. Now I want to replace it with nothing, so let's go ahead and replace it with nothing, and blammo, we now have all of our dogs by English name And I'm 99.99% that all of these are English names. And we have one carriage return line feed at the very end of this file, and we can just leave that just the way it is. And we can go ahead and save this by hitting the save button. And I don't see the save button on here currently. I think you have to have the standard set to see the save button. And there it is. I hit the save button right here. I don't know if you saw the standards right there. That has to be selected in order to see these save buttons, and it saved it. And I'm now finished. Thank you for viewing this, and hope to see you when I sort some cats and some pigs and decide whether or not they're wild beasts. Because there are some dogs that are wild, and there's some cats that are feral, and there's some pigs that are feral, and they don't make very good pets unless you can get one of the little baby puppies or kittens, or I don't even know what you call a baby pig, piglet, and then basically give it a name. And when they're young, you kind of like train the wildness out of them, and they become your best friend. Okay, thank you very much for viewing, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.